Howdy ho, good neighbors. Happy Friday. Hope everybody had a good day and an even better week. I'm Phil Russert, and this is Creatorcon Q&A. And tonight we have artist, writer Eric Ninaltowski. Before we get to speaking to Eric, I do my usual shout-outs and announcements. First, I want to announce the December 6th show, Suffolk Comic and Art Expo, again here in Ronkonkoma, which is Suffolk County, Long Island. So come on out, 10 to 6 p.m. Billy Tucci, Larry Stroman, Keith Williams, Sean Chen, Rodney Ramos, and a bunch of great local talent. So see you on December 6th. We also do our shout-outs to Mad Titan Comics. Instagram is at @MadTitan_comics. Eric Gunderson is the owner and operator on Facebook. He has keys, slabs, dollar issues, you name it, and he's your guy for comic books. So please go ahead and reach out to him. We also have Andy Lee with www.lesdudis.com. That's LESDUDIS. Andy does everything pop culture and geek culture, and he's also the awesome individual behind all of my promotional graphics. So thank you, Andy, for that. We also have It Came From the Radio, which is an online radio show hosted by Mark Torres. He has a great crew. It's a great show. It's informative. It's everything in the indie scene and the pop culture scene. So please check them out. They're on every platform. And we also have Enrique Lopez, who is Studio Main, MAENEFL, Studio Main EFL on Instagram. Every Monday night at 8 p.m. he has Inking with Kike. It's Kike and a special guest every Monday. So please come check him out. Now, having said that, tonight we have a writer and artist from the West. He's, I believe, California. Anyway, he's a great guy, and I met him 4 years ago in Phoenix. He currently has a very successful Indiegogo going on right now. It is Shadow Sentry. The art is fantastic, and I'm actually going to show you a commission I have from Eric during the show. Eric is also going to be doing a live sketch tonight. The person with the best question will win the sketch, so free original art is always a good thing. Anyway, without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you Eric Ninaltowski. Hey, Eric, what's going on? How are you?
Good, man. Doing all right. How are you guys?
Hanging in there. We got a few people saying, hi, Heather. Hi, Ricardo. Ricardo Silva, great artist, by the way, in Brazil. Hi, Thomas. So I met you 4 years ago, I think, at Phoenix Comic-Con. 4 years went fast. That was the year before the guy who came in and tried to kill the Green Ranger.
Right. Yeah. Gosh.
Now I didn't know about you, and I was walking that I like to always walk around, and I saw you had a beautiful setup, like the one behind you, of course. And you had this amazing, beautiful Nightcrawler out on the table that you had drawn, and I bought it from you right away. And I commissioned from you, and it's a beautiful piece, which we'll show later. But ever since then, I've kept in touch with you online and look to see you at cons again. And obviously things are on hold, but incredible artist. Shadow Sentry looks awesome. So congrats on the success.
Thank you.
So let's get into it. What inspired you to become an artist?
Good artwork, comic books. Got into comics when I was in elementary school. Saw kids drawing, and they had some comics, and they're drawing some Wolverine and some X-Men stuff. And that was my first introduction to comics. And then from that point on, just kept, drawing them, started buying them, and that was it. I just fell in love with the medium. I had a comic book shop across the street from where I lived in New Jersey, so that was like perfect. Couldn't ask for any more than that. So that was Thunder Road Comics. So about the 90s is when I got heavy into comics. And so, everybody knows the 90s, and Image came about. And so those books, that was kind of like more of the catalyst. I was kind of interested in art, but then once I saw these 90s books coming out with Image and that Jim Lee, Mark Silvestri, and Rob Liefeld were doing, it was just like, whoa. So that was my huge inspiration. That's why, if it wasn't for those books in the 90s, I don't think I would have been so heavy into comics as I was. But they were just amazing. And so yeah, that kind of got the creative gears going and just got me drawing, and then also creating and thinking up my own characters and stories. And that was pretty much it. Yeah.
Well, after getting the commission that I got from you, you can see your influence is 90s because it's those tight pencils, very detailed, anatomy driven, and I love that stuff. I love that stuff. I'm going to show it if you don't mind.
Go for it. Yeah.
So I was doing a DC versus Marvel series, and you did Winter Soldier versus the Red Hood for me. The composition is great. I love how you had, obviously Winter Soldier being espionage and things like that. You've got him, behind cover, but Red Hood is just aggressive, going right at somebody. But the detail is fantastic, and the inking that you did, it's just a beautiful piece. I get a lot of credit. I get a lot of compliments on this. So, I mean, look at that. That's just incredible. And obviously, I haven't commissioned you in a long time, but I'd like to. And COVID has messed up a lot of things, but you've also been busy, which is good.
Yeah.
So besides those 90s artists, are there any other artists that have influenced you as far as, your style or your career?
Yeah. So after, so I did go to art college, went to a 2-year art college, got a degree in illustration. Funny story. I lived in New Jersey, but I had no idea that the Kubert School of Cartooning was in northern New Jersey. So I go south, and I could have just, gone north, and it would have been great. But I went to this art college in Delaware, and I got a good roundabout, got introduced to animation and photography and fine art. So I got, a well-rounded, just all the different arts, so it was helpful. And, I don't know if they do that in the Kubert School, but maybe, but anyway, I still, kick myself when I think about that. But, yeah, so I graduated from there. I went to Bible college for a year, but then ended up going, not pursuing that. Just I felt the Lord was leading me to pursue my artwork. So I was like, okay, that's what I'll do. So, but I met my wife there, and she's from California. And so, we got engaged, got married in 2005. And so I moved to California, which was great because, San Diego Comic-Con, that's where, Wildstorm was and all that. So it was perfect. And then, but lo and behold, where we were living in La Mesa, there was a little art company that was just starting called Alias Comics. And so that's where I met Mike Miller for the first time. And so they just started Alias, and I went there, I showed him my portfolio, and Mike was like, all right, yeah, I could work with this. And so, he kind of tried to transform me into his style, rather than the Jim Lee, West Coast style. But he tried to no avail. But it was great because Mike has a great knack for anatomy and structure. So he schooled me in that, and it really helped bump up my game. And so that really took me to the next level. So
he did Injustice for DC.
Yes. Yeah. And he also does all the covers for the Game of Thrones comics. So yeah, he's got a really great portfolio. So then they started doing this book called Hand of the Morning Star, and it was like a manga America kind of style. Let me show you. They're little tiny books, 150 pages. So after Mike did the first 2 books, I kind of took over and did the rest. So
nice.
That was about, after I did all the 6 books, it was about almost 1,000 pages of art that I was able to, accumulate and get under my belt. So it was just a huge help for me, just to progress as an artist and
get your sequentials down, right? Your storytelling, get the energy in each panel and panel structure, right?
Exactly. So there's so much that goes into it that, you might not think about, off the bat, but you have to be able to draw everything and be able to draw it, well enough. And so it was a great learning experience. So anyway, that was kind of like so Mike was a huge influence on me, and just helped me kind of get to that next level and kind of get past some of the things that I was stuck on, so.
Can anybody buy those? Where would someone find those books if they wanted to? Are they still around, or?
I think if you Google Hand of the Morning Star, they might pop up on eBay. I think I've actually go to lampostpublications.com. He published like these big tomes where he collected all the issues. Those
nice.
might still be available. Yeah. So it's 2 books, and then in those 2 books you get all 8 volumes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool. We like to see your early work.
Yeah.
That's cool. So from there, where did you go, and what did you start doing? What did you work on?
After that, I think right after that, I started doing conventions, and then I met Seek Donnelly and Omar Spahi, and Omar started his own comic company called Awesome Comics, OSSM. I think it's his initials and Santa Monica smushed together.
Okay.
And so they were doing a book called Thaniel with Terry Huddleston. I'm sure you're familiar with him from the conventions. He does all the headshots and stuff. So he was doing that with them. And they were trying out this new book, and it was like angels and kind of like a twist on the biblical epic where Michael was the one who revolted from heaven, and Lucifer was actually the good angel. And so kind of turns the biblical story on its head, and really interesting and unique idea. So they were looking for an artist, and it was, I think, LA Comic Con, and they saw Mike's angel or something on the table, and we had combined booths at the time. And so they saw Mike's artwork, and then Seek comes over to me. He's like, "Hey, that's some really good artwork, man. We'd like to, maybe talk to you about doing our book." And coming to find out later, they didn't know it was Mike's artwork when they're talking to me. So,
jeez.
Like, hey. They ended up talking to Mike, and Mike's like, "Yeah, you probably can't afford me anyway, so you can talk to Eric."
Oh, jeez.
So, no, they're cool.
They obviously liked what they saw with you.
Yeah, and yeah, he dug my style anyway. He kind of enjoyed the 90s style that I had. So it worked out. I ended up doing a 3-issue series with them. I did all type pencils, and we went straight to colors from that. And yeah, just a really cool idea. So after that, I ended up doing sketch cards with Upper Deck, Cryptozoic, and Rittenhouse, things like that. I did a really cool gig with, it was for Disney, but it was through a third party. They were doing the Mighty Med TV show on Disney XD. And so I got to illustrate the comic book beginning of that show. So like it flips through the comic, and then it zooms in, and then it does live action.
Oh, that's cool.
And then zooms out and does, the comic and things like that. So that was a really cool, really fun project. You can find that on YouTube. Just type in Mighty Med Disney intro or something. Then that's kind of neat. And then after that, gosh, that probably would have been about the time I did a little series for Samson. A guy was doing a Samson adaptation from the Bible, and I got to illustrate the killing of the 1,000 Philistines. So I was like, couldn't ask for a better, spot to start. So I did that, and did some background inking for Mike as well on the Meg book that he did. And it's from the book, not the movie, but that's where you got the.
I read the book actually in the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you like it? How was it?
I liked the book. The movie's horrible, but the book was good. I found the book interesting. I mean, I'm a big shark fan, so.
Nice. Yeah, my kids love they like the Meg only because it's a huge shark, and
it was so bad. Jason stayed there. Like, you guys should have died 50 times. Come on. The shark can swallow a boat, and you guys really, you get out of here. And he's swimming, and the shark is right near him. Get out of here. I'll stick to Jaws, maybe Deep Blue Sea, but
Yeah.
So have you ever wanted to work for any of the big publishers? Have you ever pitched to them, or?
I have sent samples into Marvel and DC. I at a San Diego Comic-Con, I actually got a chance to show my portfolio. They liked what I had. They asked me to do some sample pages, which I did, and then basically they said we like your stuff, but we don't have anything for you right now. And yeah, kind of the same thing with DC as well. And so it was just kind of like, and it's, I was doing my best work. So it's like, I was kind of like, oh man, like, you get a little discouraged, but, so I kept doing my thing, kept doing the conventions, kept working on my artwork. But so, at that point you kind of start thinking of other things to do. And that's why I've done a lot of independent stuff. And now I'm doing my own book. So, but yeah, so I've tried, and every now and then I would, send in stuff to them, and sometimes I wouldn't get a reply or whatever. So, it is what it is.
look, you don't know what the future holds, but right now, obviously, you're going down the path you're supposed to go down, and it looks like you're doing a good job. So I'm definitely going to get heavy into Shadow Sentry in a minute.
Cool.
But if you could work on a published book, what character would it be? I mean, who's your character?
Probably Wolverine.
I knew you were going to say that, not just because of your picture, but because I saw Wolverine versus Sabretooth that you did. I'm like, yeah, this guy loves Wolverine. He did such a great job on that.
Yeah, I have a lot of prints, and probably Wolverine I have like the most to offer. But I love the Berserker Rage, and not only that, but like there's so many different outfits he has. With the head thing on, without it. He has awesome hair. The weapon thing. I mean, like, come on, it's like there's so many cool things to do with Wolverine.
The big question is brown costume or blue or yellow and blue.
Brown and gold for sure.
Yeah. See, I like them both equally. But I like the original, like the old tiger costume. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, with the things on the face, like the
not the original classic one, but the one that like for giant size.
Okay.
Oh, we get some questions, and I just want to remind everybody that Eric has kindly and generously said he would do a head sketch, or is it a head sketch? I'm sorry.
It's yes and no, but it'll be both.
So he's doing a live sketch. I mean, he's doing an original sketch that he will give away to the person with the best questions. So fire away. I don't know where Dell is. Dell is usually 100 questions in by now, but Dell is in my rogues gallery here, and he's always asking questions. We're pretty quiet tonight. Hey, Dante, what's going on? Hey, Bill. Hi, Thomas. Let me just ask. Kevin Stewart has a question. He's another talented artist, by the way. He did something cool today, I saw. Here's my question. How do you go about creating a fan base? Did it come through your professional work? And if not, did you go through certain steps to build one?
Probably just through social media. At the outset. Now what I've been doing is kind of trying to, when I did conventions, I started doing an email list, and so I'd give away like a free print, or actually I did free original art as well, and just trying to get like an email list built so that way because it's people that are interested in your art and interested in what you have to offer, so it's kind of more targeted rather than just social media. Sometimes it's people just
return customers.
Exactly. So
nice.
Yeah. So, and it's not, I don't have a huge email list right now, but it's been a little helpful. When I launched the Shadow Sentry, I emailed all those people, and, now I'm getting more through Shadow Sentry as well. So if you could do something like that, that'd be helpful. Social media is great. I probably don't utilize it the best I can, but, people do build good fan bases from that, but, it's just not something I've done, so hope that helps.
Well, you've been busy with your Indiegogo. After that, you'll probably start working on that stuff, but one thing at a time. So we kick Adam Kubert off Wolverine, and we clean house, and you're the artist. Who would be your creative team? Writer, inker, colorist?
Oh, man. All right. My dream team would be like bring back Joe Shoto. I think I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Who worked on like the original Wildcats books with Jim Lee.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I really, yeah, sorry if I butchered it. It's hard to know the names if you don't hear it, so.
Right. Well, I got yours wrong. I said Ninaltowski, and it's Ninaltowski, so.
Yeah. Oh, well, it happens. So him, I loved his colors, from like day one. Who else? Writer. Probably nowadays, maybe like Joseph Loeb. I like some of the stuff he's done with Wolverine in the past. Maybe Chris Claremont, but if I had to go like, more recent, probably Joseph Loeb. I liked what he did on Batman the Hush with Jim Lee. Who else? And then colors? No, we did colors. Inker Scott Williams. I mean, come on. Can I get Scott Williams? That'd be just like a dream come true if I had Scott Williams inking one of my pieces, just to see it and But anyway, yeah. So that'd probably be my dream team.
All right, so we got to push everybody. We got to start a campaign, hashtag Eric on Wolverine, and we'll reach out to Claremont and Loeb and all of them.
Yeah.
Nice. So, all right. So you made your pitches. They said they'll get back to you when they have work for you, yada, yada, yada. And you're like, I'm not going to just sit here and, dwell on that. So you decide, I'm going to be creative. I'm going to take all these ideas I have in my head and I'm going to start my own thing, which means writing. Yes. So before you tell us, about Shadow Sentry, Sentry, how was it to realize that, all right, I'm going to be writing this book? I'm delving into writing now. And did you have a background in writing?
Very little. Going back to high school, I did like creative writing and stuff. And so, and people told me like, you're good with words, so I'm like, okay. And so, but telling a story, I was just taking basically what I'd learned from reading so many comics, over the years. So I had like a good understanding of how the comic works, you know what I mean? And what, kind of like your beats and things like that. And, you turn the page and it's a huge splash page and you have all this action and, so things like that. So, so it's just kind of a matter of putting it all together. I'm probably not, I know I'm not the best. So I'm hoping, and we'll see after the book comes out and people tell me how it is. But yeah, you kind of have to go for it and just see how it goes.
Now, being the writer, obviously, how does that help you with the storyboarding part? Because I mean, sometimes if there's a lot of dialogue and you have to fill in a panel, you have to account for the fact that there's going to be a lot of lettered dialogue bubbles in there. But you've already got the dialogue, what's going on, you've got the mood. So does that really help you with the storyboarding? I mean, does it all just mesh well? Yeah,
it's really helpful. Sometimes I'll run into issues where, maybe I got a little too, I went too big, with maybe the dialogue or the panel's too small. And so, you have to adjust, but it's definitely a lot. It helps a lot. I've had books that I've worked on and, you get the script and it's like, they're telling you what's going on and you're like, and it's all in one panel, but you're thinking in your head, like, that's like 3 panels worth of,
right.
action, or it's like they're talking to 3 different people and it's like, and the way they describe it, it's like, that's impossible. You can't do that. So as an artist, I visualize it first and then I put it on paper, so it kind of works well together. And sometimes I do have to adjust, but I think it's helpful.
While you're writing the script, are you thinking about the panel layout while you're writing it, or you're just focused on the dialogue?
Sometimes, not always. I start out very rough, and I'll just put down, on paper what I'm thinking, or what's happening and what dialogue I want said. So then you kind of have to go in and flush out. Okay, what panels do I want here? So I start out rough, and then I kind of go in and break it down. But typically, I'll have some kind of an idea in my head of what I'm thinking.
Now, when you're doing the book yourself, though, do you have an editor? I mean, is there someone that's going to proof this and make sure that not just spelling errors, but a lot of people don't realize that editors have to look for consistency from panel to panel. Backgrounds have to be the same based on how the character moves and things like that. So there's a lot that goes into editing that we don't think about.
Yeah. I have a woman that I'm going to be paying to kind of go through and do all the fine editing with the dialogue, grammar, that kind of stuff. But I've been relying on friends. Just, hey, can you look at this? Tell me what you think. Does it pace well? Are you understanding it? Did I miss something, or are you lost? Things like that. So that's really helpful. I have some people look at it for me, and because if the whole thing's in your head and it's all planned out and you understand it, you can miss things, and then people are like, I don't understand what's going on. So,
because what's going on, you may miss a key point of dialogue. I always feel like with Grant Morrison, when he writes something, he confuses the crap out of me because you can tell like he's writing from the perspective of he knows what the hell he's trying to say. It's like this off-panel stuff that he doesn't like make clear when he goes to the next thing. And I'd be like, did I miss something? Something's going wrong here. So I would imagine if you don't have an editor and you're doing your own thing, yeah, that can happen just naturally because you have it all in your head, and plus you don't want to talk down to the reader with your dialogue. It's not like the old Batman 60s show where they have to announce what they're doing. That's what the art is for. The art is going to show that part of the story, right? So,
yeah. Yep.
So okay, so we have Shadow Sentry. It's an Indiegogo going on right now, everybody. And if you look on the bottom, besides Eric's website, his social media handle, you've got igg.me/@/Shadow Sentry. You can go right now, look at the different tiers, and you can pledge on Indiegogo. I really think it'll be worth it for you. The art is excellent. The character aesthetics to me are very attractive. They're very interesting. And I'm not going to lie, it looks like you're going back to the 90s to a good action book. And that was the interpretation I got, not even knowing that you were into the 90s style. So if you missed that, I think this would be a book. I know I'm interested in it, so I think this would be a book for everybody to read. So where did you get the idea for Shadow Sentry? What inspired this idea? And then tell us about it.
All right. The inspiration, it's kind of like a culmination of a lot of ideas kind of coming to a head, because I knew I wanted to, do a book on my own. And so it's kind of like, okay, what's like the best idea I've ever had? What are the best characters I've ever had? And that's what I want to do. I want to put them all together. So over the years, of course, I've had tons of ideas. And I knew I wanted to do a superhero book because that's kind of like what got me into comics. That's what I love. So it was a matter of taking all that stuff and then, kind of formulating this thing. Okay, well, how do they get their powers? Are they just born with them and all that stuff? And so, loving like the biblical epic, loving the supernatural kind of stuff, I came up with the idea. Well, what if hell has found a way to enter our realm and starts giving out these powers that they would have, on the other side of eternity, and so they're smuggling them into our world, and so that was kind of the basis of the idea, and so then that brought forth the Hellborn, and then you have the Hellborn on the other side who are they're endowed with these epic abilities and stuff, and God sends them back, and the way He does it is through a near-death experience. So someone dies. But they're dead for maybe a minute or whatever. And then they come back, and when they come back, they're bringing a piece of this eternal with them, and so they have these crazy, biblical powers. And so that's how the Shadow Sentry was born. And then wrapping it up into this supernatural idea, and then there's one character who is the product of a Hellborn and a Highborn coming together. He's their son, and so that's never been done before. And so now you have, both sides kind of like, fighting to get this child. And so if you look at the campaign, you'll see the first 7 pages, and kind of that's what's going on. It's prologue backstory of this child. And so basically, you have this war for this child, and you don't know whose side he's going to fall on. You don't know if he's going to be the one to save the world or if he's going to be the one to like lead this war against it. So that's the premise. So, are
you able to show it? You were talking about possibly sharing screen. Are you able to show us the campaign and some of the pages?
Let's do it.
Let's get into it, man.
I'm a visual guy, so hopefully you guys like visuals. All right, so
I think this would be great to show them because they'll see what I'm talking about with that. Just that 90s. It sounds like a very interesting story, but I love the whole 90s aspect of things too. Like just action and fighting and spandex and superpowers and. I don't mind the realism that's in comics, but I like a break from it. Like I would love if there's just one or two titles that were just all out like it used to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Very cool. So my real quick elevator pitch is it's an X-Men meets the Matrix superhero team book, and it's with a supernatural twist. So, but yeah, so you could read it up. The premise there. You scroll down. These are cards from different artists, and it's its own perk. Here are the covers.
Now, is this how many issues do you have plotted out for this, and what is this Indiegogo for? Is it the first issue, first 2 issues? Is it a trade paperback? How many pages is it?
So this one's going to be so if it was like a normal comic size, it'd be like 2 issues worth. Well, probably more, but it's going to be 56 pages when it's all done.
Nice.
And the first story arc will be about 2 of these books, possibly 3. After doing the first one, I'm kind of realizing like, hey, I could do less panels per page and kind of space it out a bit more, just for pacing, because there's a lot of pages have like 8 panels. And I'm like, I could shorten this.
And you don't want to visually overwhelm people either and cram too much.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So if I want to slow it down a bit, I could do 2 more books, but it is going to be an ongoing series.
Very nice. Good.
Yeah. So it's the same vein as like the X-Men, it's building the characters, you get to know them, and they're going to have plenty to do, plenty of villains to fight. And the cool thing about the story is it goes back, centuries as well, when you kind of get into the backstories of some of these characters. So that'll be really fun to play with.
Colors are beautiful on that. Look at that.
Yeah. So
the artwork, obviously. Are you inking it as well?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you're writing it, penciling it, and inking it. Wow. How long is that? How long is a page taking you?
So currently I'm getting done 2 per week.
Look at that.
So I was hoping I could do 3 a week, but it just, on average I was getting done 2 a week. So unfortunately it's not going as quickly as I had anticipated, but but I don't want to sacrifice quality, and try and rush it. So I'm going to just keep that pace there.
See, you got some action going on. Just the aesthetics of it, to me, just brings me back. I love it. Cool. I'm looking forward to this book.
And I'm glad you said you immediately thought the 90s, because that's basically, that's my mission. Like, I want people to feel like they're transported and reading an awesome, fun 90s book again. Thanks for saying that.
Nice. So, and you are giving a lot in each page. A lot of story. That's great.
Yeah.
Now, did you, obviously you had prior work and everything, but how did you feel comfortable? Did you feel comfortable coming in with your panel, structuring and things like that? Because you were just saying that you were cramming in a lot of panels that you want to come back on. Was that you just being exuberant to tell your story, or are you still growing and learning with panel structure? Or?
I think just being exuberant with the story I'm trying to tell, just there's a lot of story to tell, and so, I laid out my first book, and so it's like, okay, I want this to be, everything that's in the first book. This is where I want to end. But as I'm going along, it's like, okay, well, I want to stretch out this panel. I want to do a double page spread here. So that kind of came into play as well, where it's like, okay, I want this to be bigger and I want this to be better. And so a lot of the pages I kind of, stretched out, and now I had to add pages. Originally it was going to be 48 pages. And so I've added pages on the back end just so I can, make sure I'm spacing it out properly, not rushing.
Right.
And so I think, so it'll be better in the end, but it's just, it's going to take a little bit more time than I had hoped. So, but I think everybody will be very happy with the end product.
Steve Garcia just wanted to say, wow, that looks great.
Awesome.
Will Wolford is in. He said hi to us.
What's going on? Yeah. William helped me out with some inks on a previous project. So
he's a good guy. He's a good guy, and he's inked some commissions for me. Dante had a question for you while you're showing us just for a minute. Who are your artistic influences? Which writers do you feel influenced your storytelling chops? And what films have influenced your storytelling chops?
Good questions. Storytelling wise,
look at that. Nice.
Yeah, so this is my cover. Kind of gets the whole heaven versus hell theme going. And this is Jason, who's the main protagonist. This first story arc focuses on him heavily, so he's in there a lot. So definitely like Chris Claremont, with the first, when they redid the X-Men run that Jim Lee did, like I found that just really, really slick, like just a great way to go back and like, you get to see all the characters again, Magneto's in there, and just, I love the way he did that. And it's like simple, but very effective. So I love Chris Claremont. Fabian, I'm going to butcher his name. Is it Niceza?
You know, I never know. Niceza. I always say Niceza, but I don't know.
Yeah. Again, like I liked his stuff. Still like his stuff. Like again, I like the simple. You know, like and you know, just effective and you get the action. You know, then you have the panels with the dialogue, more dialogue. You know, and character development. But just you know, like a real good rounded writer.
I'm sorry to interrupt real quick. Norm Ratman is on, and Norm likes to rib me every time. He goes, "The artwork looks awesome. Philip, your shirt makes me laugh. Did you just pull it out of the hamper?" Norm. Oh my god, that made me laugh. I'm sorry, I wasn't laughing at you. I read that. And freaking Norm. Don't you have some Tang to drink? Will said the pages are looking great also, and the colors look nice as well. And I have to say, actually, the colorist complements your pencils and your inks very well. You guys really complement each other. It looks fantastic.
Cool. Yeah, I specifically brought on Carbon Graphics, and if you guys, my banner behind me, he colored the Thundercats picture for me a while back, and like I just fell in love with his bright colors, vibrant colors, and so originally he was going to be doing all the colors in the book, but it's kind of after seeing the amount of work that was involved in everything, he decided he need to kind of step back a little bit. So I got another guy to help me do the colors. His name, he's going by Kid Icarus, and so they're kind of tag teaming. So Kid Icarus will do the first round of colors, and then I got Carbon Graphics to come back in and do like embellishments and kind of add like his touch. So it's still looking fantastic. So no complaints here.
And that's your cover right there, right?
This one is Kevin Sharp.
Oh, is it? Oh, wow. I think Kevin Sharp is a phenomenal artist, but this actually looks a little different than his usual style.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks beautiful, though. That's a nice cover.
Yeah, really cool. So Carbon Graphics did all the colors on the cover, so that way they're all kind of consistent, have a nice style to them.
Are you selling original pages from this after the? Are they part of the tier pledges, or are you going to sell them eventually after the book is out, or you're going to hang on to your babies for a while?
Right now, there are some pages on the campaign that you can purchase, and eventually they'll be available. Some of them I'll probably hang on to, but I did put a few of them on there. Some of the covers are on there. The Matthew Weldon cover is actually. Actually, someone bought that. I take that back. Sorry. Yeah, so I am selling some of the work. Some of it I'll probably hang on to, but I'm willing to part with it for a price.
Well, you have a beautiful brand new baby girl to feed, so than your other children. So, right. Absolutely. Heather Ellen also says that it looks fabulous. Looks awesome, I should say.
Awesome. Thank you. All right.
So
I'll stop sharing and I'll start drawing if that's cool with you guys.
Yeah. And
right.
So you had said that this is the first arc, and do you have it all scripted out, or you're going as you go with each book?
So the first story arc is not fully scripted. It's the second arc is like a rough, layout. The rest is just kind of still in my head. So yeah, so once I finish this book, I'll go in and really lay out and get into the nitty gritty of the second book. And then everything after that is kind of in my head and, needs to be, just kind of flushed out.
Now, when you're ready to start the next Indiegogo campaign for the next chapter and the story, would you be looking to have it all finished before you start the campaign, or you'd be like you are now, you're doing it as the campaign is going on?
As far as the artwork or the writing itself?
The artwork, like the finishing up the book before. Some people like to finish the product before they do the campaign, and some people do it obviously as the campaign funds are coming in, etc.
Right. I think for me, for right now anyway, I think I'd have to start the campaign and then start doing more of the art. I'll have some of it completed when I first start, but I'm gonna have to do it as I go, only because I'm realizing by the time I get to the next book and when I launch it on Indiegogo, I'm probably gonna be out of funds from the first book and gonna need
Gotcha.
some more money to keep going. So, but I'm really happy and blessed that when COVID started, with all the shutdown of all the conventions and everything, this campaign is basically what's been keeping me afloat and keeping me going, and being able to keep doing the artwork and not have to go get a job outside the house. So I'm really thankful for that.
And are you open for commissions right now, or are you just focused on Shadow Sentry right now?
If people are willing to kind of like get on a list, I'd totally do that right now for commissions list. And I do it, slowly as I get time. But I wouldn't be able to take like 10 commissions or anything right now, but totally willing to start putting people on the queue. So that way when I'm done, I could start doing them for sure. And that would be maybe if I'm a few months out from being done with the first book.
Anthony asked a question. I don't know if he says, even though you might not have time now, have you ever, or are you still getting commissions from other artists? I don't know if he means other artists or just from art collectors.
I've gotten a few things. I've done just recently. I did a Upper Deck card set. They're doing a new set, so I was able to do that. I have a guy that gets a commission from me like every year that wants a new one. It's kind of like a holiday thing. He does holiday cards, and so I'll be doing that. And then so it depends on how big and the scope of it. So if it's like something smaller, I could definitely fit it in. But if you want like an 11x17 with a bunch of characters, I'd have to wait on that.
What's the craziest commission request you ever got?
Ooh. Probably like a mermaid witch or no, a Scottish mermaid. There's this one gentleman who he goes around that convention circuit and he gets all these mermaid pictures done. And so he'll get one from me every so often, and they're just always mermaid oriented, but it could be a mermaid like Santa theme or witch, or this one I did was a Scottish mermaid. So yeah,
it's funny you say that because you're the second guest I have that mentioned this person. I mean, unless it's a different person, they said that they're always mermaid themes, and they see them at many different conventions in different states. So I'd imagine it's the same person, unless there's two mermaid people running around.
It's probably the same guy, I'm imagining.
I guess Anthony was saying other artists. He says, do you have a personal sketchbook? Like, do you have your own collection of commissions from other artists that you admire?
I see. I do not. I have. There are a few that I've purchased, but I don't do it on a continual basis. But I did get this awesome. It's a convention sketchbook, and it's hold on, let me show you. It's IDW put it out, and
Bradney, it looks like he's doing the Joker and Batman upside down parallel faces. I'm pretty sure, but we'll check in a minute. Nice.
So I purchased this, and obviously with the conventions not going on right now, but I want to start getting artists and plugging them in here. But it has like the convention, it has the date, it has the artist, already
cool.
So anyway, it's definitely something I'd want to do, just because I love a lot of the artists that are at the conventions. And so what I've been doing is I'll just get like prints done, or I'll buy like prints that they have. Let me get this to focus now.
There you go. No. Well, your hand was.
There you go.
There you go. It's just the light is wiping it out. We don't see it very well.
Yeah.
Is that the Joker and Batman with their faces upside, one opposite each other?
It is, yeah.
Cool. That Joker looks creepy. Nice. See, this is the only thing that sucks about being the host is I don't get any of this art. I don't get a chance to win. Look at that. Damn. That looks really nice, and that Joker's creepy. Guys, pump in your questions. Look what he's drawing. You can win this for free, and shipping is on me, so you don't pay a dime. Thomas Moria, I hope I pronounced that right, Thomas. I'm sorry if I didn't. He said very nice.
Thank you.
So, all right. So Shadow Sentry is doing well. I'm so glad for you. It's definitely a book that I'm looking forward to. There's a few indie books I'm looking forward to. There's like 2 or 3, and that's definitely one of those 2 or 3. So I'm happy for you, and I wish you continued success with that.
Thank you.
And at this point, is it too early to tell like when you'll have the next Indiegogo starting, or do you have it set when you want to launch that?
So right now, I hope to do the next one February of 2021.
Cool.
So that's my target goal.
Okay.
So yeah, so kind of like a year later, and as I did mention to you, if time permits, I might squeeze in another book. I did a volume of Samson, this Samson story that Louis Serrano wrote with Rooted Chronicles. And so he wants to do another book. And so like I've had a lot of people say that they really like that story, and they keep asking me, am I going to do another one? So if I can squeeze it in before February, I'm going to do that. And so that'll be like the 3rd volume in a series of like the biblical story of Samson.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Will unfortunately came in late, so I'm going to answer this question for you because we already went over it. He said, if you had a chance, would there be a publisher you would want to work with, and what property? Eric had said he'd love to do Wolverine, and we asked him the creative team, and he said either Joseph Loeb or Chris Claremont, and inker, he said Scott Williams, and colorist, the colorist you're working with now, you said, right?
No, Joe from back in the Image days.
Oh, right. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. Joe Chioda, if I'm saying his name right.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot because I don't know how to say his name either.
He's got a very, he's kind of similar to Alex Sinclair in a lot of ways, but Joe Chioda was doing the books before Alex Sinclair came on the scene. So
at this point, though, after the dust settles with Shadow Sentry, you said you're probably going to do the next Samson and everything. Do you have other creator-owned ideas besides Shadow Sentry, or you're strictly focusing on this now, or do you have plans for other books, other stories to tell?
Yeah, I do have other stories I'd love to do. There was I wanted to do a webcomic for a while, and same thing I'm doing now, write it, draw it, ink it, everything, and probably color it as well. That was called War Gun, and I actually have a Facebook page for it. So if you want to check out some of the art, just search War Gun, and you can kind of see that. But that was like the beginnings of, I wanted to do a fun, action-packed kind of webcomic, so it'd keep you on your toes, type of deal. And so I kind of would like to go back to that, and the premise is basically you have these other kingdoms in this other dimension, and they, instead of fighting wars, they just have their war gun who will fight a battle, and then basically the winner or loser takes all.
Nice.
And so this one kingdom, their war gun is kind of going out. He's old, and his son, he hides him in our dimension because they know that this other kingdom's going to try and take him out. And so he grows up in our dimension, in our world, and then all of a sudden his dad kind of like teleports him, into these other dimensions to basically train him and get on the job training to be this next war gun. And so he's, he goes through all these different dimensions, and it could be like a robot type dimension or, aquatic or whatever, sky's the limit. And he goes through all these dimensions to get basically this training. And then, so he's kind of learning what's going on as the story progresses. He has no clue what's going on. He just keeps getting portaled to these places. So he has to learn what's going on and also learn, how to fight, and takes on all these cool, crazy things.
Nice.
So that's War Gun. That's definitely one of them. And then another would be Avon's Quest, which would kind of be like a Lord of the Rings-esque kind of epic adventure story.
Nice. Love Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
It's my favorite story. That's the original Star Wars trilogy is my favorite movies, but Lord of the Rings are my favorite books. I've read them so many times since 9 years old.
Nice. Did you like the movies?
I did. I thought they were pretty solid adaptations. The only thing I didn't like is in the books, Tolkien he alludes to the fact that Gandalf is more powerful than he realizes, and he kind of knows what's going to happen and what's going on, and Gandalf is orchestrating things, where they change that in the movies and they make it more about Aragorn. Like the scene where they face the general at the gates. In the book, Gandalf tells him they think that Frodo is dead because he's got his mithril and everything, and they're all shocked and upset. And Gandalf says, "Take put your tail between your legs and run back to your master," as if to say that Gandalf knows he's not dead and that they still have legs to stand on. In the movies, it was Gandalf all shocked and everything, and it was Aragorn that stood up to the general, and little things like that I didn't like.
Gotcha.
But overall, I thought they were great adaptations, and the added footage I thought was pretty good. If you weren't bored with Tolkien's, like the first book, Tolkien really goes through their journeys through the forest. It's detailed about and then sitting and camping and this and that. So if that stuff didn't bother you, the added footage is pretty cool for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, I love going back and watching the extended versions and stuff. Like,
yeah,
just kind of get all the extras, and I love that.
I loved Boromir personally. I thought he was the most interesting character because he was a good man, but he was flawed like anybody else. And good people do bad things all the time, and he did give into temptation, but he redeemed himself. And anybody who could take a ton of arrows and take out like 100. Look, in the book, he takes out like hundreds of orcs. It wasn't just like 15 or 20. He took out hundreds, and he had like 20 or 30 arrows in him. So, he was just a badass character in the book. So if you haven't read The Lord of the Rings, or if anybody hasn't, you really should. And The Two Towers is even better in the book than the movies, in my opinion.
Cool.
And there's a whole ending in Return of the King that they don't ever touch upon in the movies that deals with Saruman. Because, in the movies, you don't really... Saruman's stuck up in his tower, and they kind of go away from that. But there's a whole, 3 or 4 chapters at the end of Return of the King that goes into that.
Wow.
So, Will asked, what do you find the most difficult to draw?
Probably like buildings and perspective. Just because in my head I see it, and I'll start sketching, I'll put it on the paper, and then once it's down, I'm like, oh gosh, that's horrible, or it's way off, So perspective always gives me issues, for sure. So I wouldn't say like maybe cars or cities you can kind of finagle and kind of just do like lines in the background, things like that. But maybe like cars, things that have to do with perspective sometimes are like tricky for me.
Yeah, well, I don't even know how people begin to do backgrounds. I don't even know how you find it interesting, because sometimes they have to be so detailed, especially if it's like someone Spider-Man swinging so high up and you're doing the buildings from that perspective, and then these little cars down below in the traffic and the lights. And like Sean Chen does some brilliant backgrounds. And Ricardo Silva was on earlier. I don't know if he's still with us. He's a Brazilian artist. He's a phenomenal talent. He does incredible cityscapes. I mean, incredible. They're unbelievable. The detail is insane. It looks like you're looking at a photograph.
Wow.
But I don't know how you'd ever have fun drawing that. But I guess every job has its fun and its part that you don't like, right? So.
Yeah.
Anthony, I apologize. I'm not really following your question. Can you reword it for me? And I will ask it again. I will ask it for you. So are you reading any current titles right now? And if so, do any of them like inspire you with ideas or thoughts, or?
So I am collecting right now. I wouldn't say reading, because my reading is taking a back seat to all the other stuff I have going on. As Phil mentioned, I have a newborn. She's 6 months old, and I have 3 other kids. So between that and the Shadow Sentry, I don't find a whole lot of time to read. What I mainly do now is I'll pick up books for the artists that I enjoy.
Right.
I have all Sean Gordon Murphy's Batman the White Knight sitting over here, and things like that I want to read. I did pick up all the House of X, Powers of 10 books. Haven't quite made it through all of them, but I really enjoy Pepe La Raza and the other guy. Who's the other? Or was it Stuart Immonen? Or no, it was.
No, I forget who's on. To be honest with you, I forget who's on. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I've been a little discouraged with current books, so I'd be the
Sure.
worst person to ask. Ask me older stuff and I'll tell you, but new stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a whole pile. I mean, literally, my pile of books is probably a good 2 feet high, sitting in my room waiting to be read. My daughter just said to me yesterday, she's like, "Daddy, why do you have all those books? Are you going to read them eventually?" I'm like, "I'll get to them eventually."
Right.
So, what are your thoughts in regards to conventions returning?
I'm totally up for it. I think I think people are going to be responsible. People will wear masks, and I'm not worried in that regard. I think it'd be great if they came back. I think it'd be great if people started coming out and living life again. I think this whole living in at home in fear kind of deal is just not it's not good, and especially like the kids. I think kids need to be back in school and stuff. So I'd be totally up for it, totally fine with it personally. And I know the LA Comic Con, they're trying to do something in December.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
It's too bad you live so far. I have a very small. I'm not doing my normal size show. I'm doing a small one, December 6th.
Saw that.
So hopefully that'll go well.
Yeah.
So there's some people that are doom and gloom. They don't think conventions are coming back, or they think that virtual is going to be the new way to go. And everybody knows how I feel about it 100 times, so I won't get too deep into it, but I don't buy it at all. I think virtual is just filling in the gap right now because it's better than nothing for some people. I personally don't care for them. No disrespect to anyone. They just don't interest me. So I think that once conventions are back, virtual they might be used to accentuate a show, but I do not think they're ever going to replace a physical show. I think that no way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd take a lot of the fun out of it. I mean, and for you too. I mean, you get a lot of art. You talk to a lot of artists. Like, I mean, yeah, I couldn't imagine someone, if I was getting a lot of artwork, like it just would take a lot of the fun out of it. Just purchasing online, or what I mean, getting something from someone like, and having it mailed to you. It just kind of takes the fun away from it. I think.
Yeah, you lose a lot of energy, and the truth is, I mean, we already have online conventions. Your vendor is Amazon and eBay, and artists do live streams all the time. So, yeah, I don't see how it's anything new than what we were already doing every day in our lives. So I look forward to things getting healthier and better, and getting back to conventions as well. Do you have like a favorite convention moment?
Gosh, I have a worse convention moment that I can think of right now.
What's that?
When
I came up to you and bought your Nightcrawler.
No, it was actually at the Phoenix show, but I don't know. I think it was 2 years ago, 2 years ago now. I had my portfolio stolen. I went over to get my refill at the Wild Bill's soda thing, and I stopped and I chatted with Sanjay Shahad.
Yeah.
And I came back and my 11x17 portfolio was gone off my table.
Oh my God! You didn't have everybody watching your table?
Well, the way it was positioned, I was on an aisle, and
was it your usual setup where you had your right and left open up, or?
I think it was, yeah. And it was slow. It was like, I mean, it wasn't hopping. It was like kind of dying out.
I remember I was there.
Yeah. And the people across from me were selling T-shirts and stuff, and they just, they weren't paying attention. And I was literally gone like, maybe 2 minutes or something. And yeah, so
they weren't paying attention, or they're the ones who have your portfolio.
So yeah, so that was horrible.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, no worries. So I tried to track him down, didn't find him. But yeah, so that was definitely my worst. And I heard stories and stuff, and it's like, but then, it happens, and you're like, oh.
Have you has there ever been any celebrity, whether it be in the comic industry or TV or movies, that you met at a show and you were just total fanboying over?
Well, I did get to meet Jim Lee a few times, and I'm like a huge fan of Jim Lee. So yeah, that was whenever I meet him, I'm like, I try to talk, and I'm like, just a bumbling idiot.
See, now here's the big question. I love Jim Lee's work. I'm like everybody else, but honestly, I think Mark Silvestri is the standard. I think Mark Silvestri. I don't know why he doesn't get the more credit. I think he's incredible. I mean, I look at his artwork and I'm in awe. Anything Silvestri, he could draw a freaking Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and I'd be happy. I mean, again, I think Jim Lee is obviously amazing, but Mark Silvestri to me is just a whole other level, and I don't know why he's not number one on many lists.
Mm. Yeah.
Hey, Chris. Sorry, go ahead. You were saying?
Like his style changed, a lot, and he does. I can only describe as like, what's his name? Like, let me see. I have a book over here. Is it? Hold on a second. This is gonna bug me. Let me find out this guy's name.
In the meanwhile, I'm just gonna address some people. Hey, Steve Garcia agrees with me. I knew I liked you. Go ahead.
I was gonna say Gustav Doré, who did Paradise Lost.
Oh, okay. I'm not very familiar with his work, but
very like just all the lines that Mark Silvestri does, like kind of like his more of his style now rather than his '90s style.
Gotcha.
But yeah, just very almost elegant, and it just puts so much in there.
Look, when they make a statue based on a page that you drew, you're doing something right. You know what I mean? He had Batman sitting on that throne with his cape draped around on the floor, and next thing you know, it's a freaking statue. And that page looks incredible. I mean, and then you go back to when he did the cover for Star Trek versus X-Men. I mean, what's good about Star Trek versus X-Men, for Christ's sake? And yet you look at that cover and you go, holy crap, I have to have this book. I just think he's incredible. Will was saying, that is how I feel about Greg Capullo. I love Greg Capullo's work as well. I really do. And I think his best work was on Spawn, and then, of course, Batman Court of Owls. But with no disrespect to Greg Capullo, because I do think he's one of the top artists of all time, I don't know. Mark Silvestri, when you literally, your eyes widen and your jaw drops, I don't know. That's just crazy. Chris says Greg is his guy too. Chris Madd's an excellent artist too, by the way. Phenomenal artist. If you ever need a variant cover on one of your books, you should talk to Chris Madd. He'd give you a really quality cover. All right. But he said Greg is his guy too. And Chris is in Jersey, so your old stomping grounds. So we got some questions. Let's see. Will asked, as an artist, do you feel being able to draw in different styles is a good idea to get work for both pencilers and inkers, or does it come down more to your skills regardless of how many styles you can do?
I think, personal opinion, I think it'd be better to have one style that you're really great at, and just, because it takes so much time to just, hone in and be like great at one thing.
Right.
So if you're spread out too much, you're not top notch on one versus the other. So I'd say it's probably better to be, have like one style that you're great at. And I'll like fool around with different styles and stuff, but I know where my strengths are, so I kind of play to my strengths.
Right.
But as an inker, I think you need to be able to ink different styles for sure.
Right.
But for me as a penciler, like I'm just focused on, my style and finding what works for me and what doesn't and things like that. So
I had Ian Churchill on, one of my all-time favorite pencilers too, in last Tuesday. He was on this past Tuesday. And his style. He was saying that he is a more cartoony style, but I've seen him draw really tight pencils as well. And I asked him about that, and he's like, a lot of artists can do many different styles, but they stick to the bread and butter. It's kind of like, look, if you got typecast as Captain Kirk, well, you're going to play Captain Kirk up to the hilt. That's what you're going to get your offers from your bread and butter, for that. So, but he said a lot of artists have multiple styles, which you would never know because they don't get to draw in those styles. As far as inking, let me ask you. You ink your own work. Have you inked anybody else's work?
I have inked.
Oh, that's right. You said you did. Yes.
But besides that, there might be one or two I'm not thinking of. But I did do a Brett Booth, and
nice.
When he did the Wildstorm rebirth image, I inked that, and really happy the way it came out.
He's one of my favorite artists too.
Yeah, he's really, really good.
Now, when you're inking somebody though, where's the fine line between putting a little of your own inking style and not just being a quote unquote tracer, which I don't like that term, but at the same time not insulting the penciler or taking away from what they've done with their work?
Man. I guess not leaving, deviating from their style. And this is just personal opinion. If you're inking, let's say Brett Booth, but then you kind of come in with these fat lines, like Joe Mad would have or something,
right?
Just kind of just far out there, and you're kind of going outside the boundary of. That's not Brett Booth's style. Because you could, when you're an inker, you're purposefully making lines bigger and fatter, maybe on the holding lines and things. But but a lot of pencilers will, they're so tight that they're including all that information in there, so you don't really have to mess around.
Right.
I would just say, just if you're going beyond where it doesn't even look like their style anymore, then you've gone too far, kind of.
Chris says they're all my favorites. Well, I'll tell you what, Chris, on another episode, I'll give you my top 10 artists if that makes you feel better. And no, you're not on it. I'm just messing around. I love Chris's artwork. I really do. And he's a great guy. Steve Garcia. By the way, Steve did animation for The Iron Giant and some other movies as well. Yeah, and he's another great guy. He asked, unlike animation and a lot of illustration, comics are still largely a traditional medium. A ton of animators couldn't make the transition to digital because of the lack of organic feel. If comics ever went 100% digital, how do you think you would make the transition? Your thoughts on digital as a whole?
If it went 100% digital, I don't know if I could cut it. I would personally, I'd do a blend where I would. I would hire William Wolford to ink because he does it all digital. But yeah, I would have to stick traditional for my lines at least, and then do something where I'd scan that in, do the lines, in CS Paint or something, and then do the coloring. I like fooling around with Photoshop, so I could totally do something. Even right now, I'd be comfortable doing all my lines and then just kind of importing that and then using a rough sketch to do all kinds of cool digital stuff.
Right.
But again, I need to stick to more of a traditional when it comes to the original drawing and sketch, I think.
By the way, that Joker is looking killer, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I totally lose the fluidity, the roughness if I'm doing it all on a computer. So it'd be really, really rough. So
can I just be a bad host and say that my questions are the best? That Joker is looking badass, man. Joker is one of those characters that I'm very picky about the face. Because some people, they don't know how to do creepy or just, a maniac face. They think they have to go over the top. They have to make it grotesque or, they just go, they don't understand the subtleties that you can put in to just make something look make a person's expression just look really scary and creepy,
Mm-hmm.
And I love the way you captured that in his face there.
Thanks.
So Steve was saying, yep, the organic feel. Heather was laughing because I'm asking to cheat and get the art. Anyway. So what are your thoughts as far as the industry right now as a whole, like with everything going on with DC and the independent scene really starting to blow up now? I mean, you have professionals from DC and Marvel that are now doing Kickstarters and Indiegogos. I mean, Scott Snyder is doing one, and of course Billy Tucci is better than ever now doing She, as opposed to getting the work he was getting at DC, and Graham Nolan's doing one, and a lot of people are just jumping on that. And then of course you got Brian Pulido, who's been doing it since the '90s, and he's always been the indie king with that stuff. So, I mean, what do you think about the future of the big two and the indie scene itself?
I think the more of the future is going to be in the crowdfunding stuff, and I say that, and I'm thinking in the back of my head like, oh crap, because I don't want it to get so saturated where it's like, oh man, I can't make a living or money doing what I'm doing now. So I'm glad I got in when I did. So hopefully that helps me out. But I definitely think that's where the future's headed. Yeah, like you said, there's so many people doing it. The whole like Berserker thing with Keanu Reeves and Sean Gordon Murphy's doing his. Yeah, so and I think a lot of people are just kind of disenfranchised with the big two right now, and they have probably pushed out a lot of fans over the years just from the route they're heading. So I think people are looking for an alternative, and yeah, so I think they're I think a lot of people are going to go that route, including the professionals, just because they see how well everybody else is doing, and they're like, oh, I can do that.
And what do you think about distribution as digital, and then some through like bookstores? I mean, how's that going to affect local comic shops? Do you think that's going to make local comic shops want to go more into getting the crowdfunded books on their shelves? Because I mean, let's face it, DC's knocking down just a few titles, right? But they're also going to do a few that are only digital. They're looking to distribute to bookstores. I mean, that's going to affect local comic shops.
Definitely. Yeah. I think they're going to have to, well, I know the one that I shop at, I mean, they're like, they have a big eBay presence. Like they're selling a lot of stuff online just to make ends meet.
Yep.
So I think comic shops are going to have to adjust, and I think it'd be really smart, really, really good for them to get those books.
And that's a way to bypass Diamond if you want to. I mean, think about it. You crowdfund, you whatever, you make a bunch of extra books, whatever, maybe 700, maybe you can make several thousand books, and next thing you know, you can get a couple distributed yourself through certain shops. Mm-hmm. The only thing bad about that is without a big distributor, you're not going to get it across country per se. You might get it in your little tri-state area, local areas, but how do you bypass that when you're an indie comic? When you're an indie guy and you don't have the big publisher, the distribution deal, I should say. How do we circumvent that? Because that's what the big publishers have on you.
Right.
It's not like they have quality over. A lot of indie books have the quality now. It's not like it was, but you just don't have the distribution deal.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's going to be what people are going to have to figure out. Diamond will, if it's they have their kind of, not quotas, like their standards. Like if you're an indie publisher, like you have to have, a book that's 60 pages or, what I mean? Like it's different. So I think it's doable because, a lot of these books are 48 pages, and then, you get 2 books under your belt, and then you have a, over 100-page trade you can put together, and then, get into distribution that way. But yeah, I didn't do it this time around, but I think in the future, or maybe even before the campaign's over, I want to do a discount for comic shops and for,
nice.
Yeah. For like, if they want to buy like 20 books or something, do a discount and then comic shops can order it and get it on their bookshelf.
Excellent. That would be a great idea, and you help them out too.
Yeah.
And then do some store signings for it, and get yourself out there. Even if conventions aren't there yet, you can still go do some store signings and have that interaction with fans.
Yep.
Do live sketching. But the other thing, people are not talking about this. Image has made a big comeback too, with some really quality books, and they're not even superhero books, a lot of their great titles, but you still have some great titles. I mean, you've got Saga, and you've got Seven to Eternity. You've got a lot of great stuff out there. How do you think this is going to make help Image? I mean, because again, this could blow up, and then Image, you get to keep what you create, so that's going to be enticing. Do you think there's going to be an influx of people going to Image, and Image is really going to become the top dog as far as the major publishers?
I hadn't thought about that, but that's entirely like you said. You get to keep that, and that's a really good thought, because then it's like you own it. Right.
But you got the distribution deal through Image, so you got the best of both worlds. That's how I think you circumvent it right now. And Valiant, they're trying to revamp. Maybe they need an influx of talent, and they need to start following an Image model as opposed to the DC Marvel model. But now my understanding is Image, you have to have 6 books under your belt before you even pitch to them your series.
Okay.
So at that point, if you, Dante is right. He says it's $4,000 an issue to publish, and that's after paying off your creative team. And Image does take a big cut. You're right, but say you're crowdfunding for a long time though, and you've amassed some money. It is possible to get your way into Image. I mean, Kirkman did it, and look where he went. And then once the book is blown up and you're selling thousands and thousands of copies, especially if DC and Marvel are dropping and Image is starting to boost, it can be done. It's not easy, but it can be done. I mean, is that something you would consider to try to pitch to Image once you have 6 books under your belt or something like that? Yeah,
I would definitely consider that. And a lot of times where the money is made is in the trades, because they make those books, they sell those books, and then it's like they just make more of them, and it's kind of like a continual thing. And when you get new fans and you have you got 8 books in, and they want to go back and pick up 1 through 5 or whatever,
right?
That's always there for them, and then it's income that you can get on that. So although you might pay a lot up front, you kind of, a lot of your money might be made in the trades in the back end. So
well, the truth is, whether it's comics or a brick and mortar store, the whole point is the first several years you're investing in your business. That's just a fact. You need capital to invest in your business until it starts bringing you a surplus, which then you're just turning back around into your business anyway until you make enough of a surplus that not only are you feeding the beast and the machine, but you're lining your pockets. And that's just the way business works. That's the model for every industry. So again, if DC and Marvel continue to spiral downward, because they seem to be in denial about this, in my opinion, I don't think they see what their issues are. No pun intended.
They're not correcting it.
Yeah, they don't see why their sales have dropped. They don't see it. I don't think they want to see it, and they're not correcting course. As far as my opinion, I could be wrong. I'm not the most knowledgeable in the industry, and that's just going to leave a power gap. There's going to be a black hole there, a power void that is going to be filled by somebody. There's always somebody. And, look at any franchise that was big when you were growing up. They may not even exist anymore, or they're not top dog anymore. It's a hungry world. And, a lot of people are tired of what's going on in those industries, but they are flocking to the Image books. I mean, Southern Bastards is another great book. It's not even a superhero book, and it's not even fantasy, and it's an interesting book, Yeah, that's my cat, Steve. She's deaf, and she's 14 years old, and she wants in to cuddle with me. So because she's deaf, she's screaming at the top of her lungs. So my apologies. That's not my flatulence. Sorry, Steve. So I wonder how that's going to play out, honestly, because I do think there is going to be a void, a vacuum, a power vacuum. That's the term I was looking for. That is going to have to be filled if things continue and they don't correct their course. And then it makes me wonder, is Marvel? What is Marvel going to do? Because Marvel's not doing great either. Do they look at DC's changing business model and try to do the same? Do they wait to see if that's working out and do the same? Or do they say that's absurd and go another way? We just don't know, and I don't know. But you should look into Image, man, and try to get Shadow Sentry there.
Yeah.
Dropping because most single issues are $5 a piece, and most kids can't afford to drop $5 and they're saving $6 for the next PS5 or Xbox game. I do believe that's part of it, Dante, but I do still think we're ignoring the issue of their writing is alienating their longtime audience. Their quest to find new readers has alienated longtime loyal readers. So they're losing longtime loyal readers, but the new readers are fly by night. They come in, they're excited about the movie, they pick up an issue, or they go by speculation. I'm going to pick up the new Venom because this character is supposed to be in the next Venom movie, and that book is going to go up, so they're trying to buy it for investment reasons, I think there's just so many facets to why it's going wrong. And they're not looking to correct any of them. But you're right, $5 isn't a kid is not gonna spend $5 on one issue. I also think attention spans are bad now. People don't have the attention span they used to have. So, you have to do these tight story arcs. They have to be, 1, 2, 3 issues tops, but again, the lack of continuity we remember the little yellow boxes you had that refer to issue 275. I know that they have to spend money on someone to research and look at all that and go back into thousands of issues, and I get that costs money. But when you had that little yellow box, did it make you go, oh crap, I'm going to go pick up that issue? And you went and you looked for it. And that also helped the local comic shop that stocks back issues. I need that Bronze Age issue, so I know what they're talking about. Or they're referring to the Korvac saga in Avengers. Well, I want to go read the Korvac saga now, so I'll either pick up the trade or I'll get the original issues. I think that piqued curiosity for people to go back and read prior issues, but now they just want you to ignore history and pick up the newest #1 reboot, which just rebooted again, and that's really alienating old readers. That's what I think.
I just picked up an issue. I think it was $6.99. It was one of the new series that they're doing with the whole like Powers of X, House of X thing.
Yeah.
It's like I don't even know what it's called, but anyway, it was $6.99. I was like, oh my gosh, like, man, I remember when books were like still $2.50 and below,
Yeah. Well, look at Three Jokers.
Yeah. How much is that?
I think it's like an $8 book.
Really?
I mean, wow. It's thick. It's thicker than a normal issue, but still $8. I mean, It's unheard of.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, Dante's talking about single issues were 75 cents at the time, and when you had a $10 allowance a week, you could still buy huge stacks of books. You're right, because the ratio of the cost, to your allowance there was a larger gap, and it's Swords of X special. You're right. But I agree with that. Now, I mean, what kid is getting an allowance of $50 to buy 10 books? You know what I mean? It's insane. And then the paper quality is so much cheaper. I don't know. Well, I could go on and complain for days, but what is the sense in that? but again, all this stuff just helps the indie guys have a chance at living your dream and not have to rely on DC and Marvel, because that's what you had to do in the past. You either made it to DC and Marvel or that's it. You weren't doing comics.
Right.
There's other options now. So, guys, I'm just reminding you, you want the sketch, ask some questions. We have some questions to review, but throw out some more. Let's go. So, what advice would you give aspiring artists that are either trying to break into the industry or just want to do this for a living?
Definitely just start drawing pages. If you're a penciler or an inker, like start doing pages. You're going to build up your portfolio, and you're also going to, just kind of get your feet wet, learn, all that goes into a page. I remember when I first moved out here to California, like, I know I wanted to do comics. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to San Diego Comic-Con. I need some pages for my portfolio, And so I started drawing, and I kind of just made up my own story at the time. And oh my gosh, like I'm sitting there drawing. I'm like, I don't know how do I draw this? Like I didn't have a clue, like how to draw, like ships or, you name it. Like I was doing, backgrounds, and I'm like, oh man, how do I do this? They make it look easy in the comics. What am I missing here? So it was just like, I knew what I wanted to do comics, but I like, before that, I'd always just sit down and do sketches and doodle, and I wouldn't finish anything. And if I did like any kind of page work, it was just like, again, doodling. It was probably small, like a thumbnail. And I never really did anything to completion. And so when it finally came time to, do it, I found myself like I was lost. So I would just say, if that's what you want to do, just, do it and do it to completion. Try and do, 10 pages and you're going to learn a lot just from sitting down and doing it versus, just doodling and kind of just, thinking, oh, that's what I want to do. But then you don't actually do it.
I know a lot of artists think, they go to submit a portfolio to someone and it's all just portrait
Pinups.
stuff, pinups. Yeah. And I tell them, no, they need to see sequential work. The first thing I want to see is if you can tell a story through your art. Your panel layout, is there energy in the panels, the consistency from panel to panel. But then after that, they want to see if you can meet a deadline. Right. And everybody's telling me the deadlines are insane now. They're really short, and page rates are really low. And I think there's a lot of things contributing to the page rates. There are people in other countries that are so very talented that are hungry to break in, and the currency rate is different. So if you're getting a page rate that's $40 here, there are some countries where that's $160 in their country. So the page rate is really low on an American value. So how does an American artist compete with that? They can't. Who's going to live off a $40 page rate? But that person in the other country, with the currency exchange, they're making $160 a page. So they can live off of that. They're okay with that. So that's something that had started coming in. You can see there's a lot more international artists. And again, they're all very talented. They deserve their shot. I don't mean that in a negative way. But how do you compete with that on a financial level,
Right. Yeah.
Steve wanted to ask, what do you do to get away from the board? Anything other than art projects to clear your head and come back to it fresh?
If I need a break, besides like just hanging out with my family, which is what I do mostly, I'll just go to the movies, just kind of, clear my head, veg out, so that's kind of like what I like to do, when I have some free time and I'm able to get away. I love going to the movies, just hanging out. That's what I do. I just went and I actually saw Tenet the other day, actually.
How is that?
Confusing and weird.
Really? I heard it was really good, a good action film and stuff, but I don't know. I haven't seen much about it.
It was like Christopher Nolan, his films are like kind of like deep. Okay, for instance, Inception was like, that was easy to follow. Like,
right.
This was like not easy to follow. You're watching stuff going backwards and you're like, what? And it was just kind of, unless you're like super smart and you could follow it from the beginning, it's a movie you're gonna have to watch like 5 times, and I'm sure it'll have a great cult following and people love breaking it up and all that, but I did not enjoy it because I just simply did not understand it.
So you had a Danny Darko experience. I watched Danny Darko. I walked away going, "What the hell did I just watch?" But yet it has this cult following that says it's such a friggin' great movie,
Mhm.
and I didn't care for that movie at all. And it's not that I didn't get it, although they try to be a little obscure. I got the point of it and everything. It did have one of those endings, though, that to me was open to your own interpretation, which I find to be lazy writing. If I want to open to my own interpretation, I'll write my own damn story. I'm coming because I want a story finish, beginning to end. You know what I mean? It's just how I
Mhm.
feel.
Yeah.
Chris Mad, I loan Danny Darko, which I think in English Chris is saying I love Donnie Darko. Did I say Danny Darko? I meant Donnie. Whatever. The movie sucked. It just sucked. Anyway.
Yeah. By the end of the film, like I literally had to just turn off my brain and just like go with it and just watch it. And so it's kind of understandable, but it's so deep that it's like if you're not getting it, you just have to kind of just, okay, I don't get it, whatever. I'm just gonna watch this and pretend I know what I'm thinking here. And to me, personally, that's how I was the whole movie. So I didn't love it.
Well, it's good to hear that because I heard great things about it, and then by two people, Larry Stroman said it was great, and somebody else said it was great. I forget who, but I didn't really know. I only saw one advertisement for it.
Mm.
So, any music that you listen to that helps you relax and get into drawing mode, or if you have a drawing block that takes you to some place that gives you your Zen moment.
When I first started drawing and like in high school and stuff, when I'd be drawing, I'd always be listening to music, but somewhere along the line, like that just kind of stopped. So like nowadays I listen to like talk radio, and when I'm inking, if I'm trying to do like a panel layout and I'm working on more of the mental aspect, I can't have anything going on like that I need to listen to. But yeah, if I'm inking, I could just kind of listen in the background, and so that's what I like. But music, not so much anymore. I will once in a while, and honestly, I'll listen to like the Lord of the Rings soundtrack.
I have that. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So that's inspiring, and yeah.
Dante said, and I don't drink, but I'm gonna have to agree with him. He goes, I treat films like Donnie Darko and Tenet like how I treat Grant Morrison's GL. I try to get super drunk and then try to decipher it. I don't know if you came in late, Dante, but I was talking about Grant Morrison before.
Yeah.
Philip loves the band. Enough is enough. I don't even know who the hell that is, but probably a boy band. I didn't know Norm was sticking with us, or maybe he came back after 10 cupcakes. I don't know. Yeah, Norm's a riot. I always get heckled by, my Rogues Gallery is dry. I haven't seen a few of them in a while. Danny Lee, Gallo Romero, Bill Field, they've all been gone for a while. Keith Brunswick, who I know doesn't feel well, I hope he feels better. So it's good that Norm's here to rib me because the other guys have stopped. I'm like, what the hell? They're not living up to their name anymore. So I'm going to ask you the question I ask everybody before we go, and then I'll give them a few minutes if anybody wants to get a few more questions in at a chance to win. If you could go back in time to when you were first starting out, what advice would you give yourself?
Go to Joe Kuber's School of Cartooning in Northern New Jersey, and don't go to college in Delaware. That would have been great. Just job placement and just learning like all that I needed to learn then, because I always knew I wanted to do comics, and so had I known that, I would have been trained specifically for comics and not like gotten this well-rounded everything kind of artistic deal that I got, which was still great and it benefited me, and all that. But yeah, I would definitely say, hey man, there's a school up in Northern New Jersey you need to check out before you go anywhere else.
It's funny you say that because when I did my little promo video with my daughter earlier for tonight's show, there's an artist. Her name, she goes by Sid Van Blue, but her name is Isa Venturini, and she's a really nice person and a really talented artist. And I showed 2 commissions that were long standing, not through her fault. She did them very quickly, but because of COVID, she couldn't ship them for months and months and months. She just graduated from the Kubert School, actually April, I think, or May, yeah, and she went back home to Chile. So,
Oh, nice.
So it was funny that you said that, and she on that commercial, so to speak, I did for you. I showed her work. She did a Voltron versus Ghidorah for me because I'm a big Godzilla fan.
Okay, nice.
And then she did Gatchaman Battle of the Planets.
Cool. I did watch that, and that looked really cool.
Yeah, I think she's talented. But so Shadow Sentry is doing really well. You met your goals so far, and you're continuing forward. It's still out there. I want everybody to go right there, igg.me/at/Shadow Sentry. Dante was very kind to put the link in the chat. Thanks, Dante. And click on there. Go get a pledge for one of the tiers. Support indie artists. And if you want a 90s feel, back the days of Liefeld and all of them, and Youngblood and all that, just action and colorful, splash pages and just great panel work and all that, I really recommend picking it up. And Godzilla is Phil's nickname at most food buffets. Nothing can move the blob. Steve Garcia, he has a question. And you know how I know? He always starts it with big, bold question. Thanks for clarifying, Steve. I appreciate it. When you look at a lot of comic book art today, aside from geniuses like Jim Lee, etc., is there anything you think is missing in today's comic book art as opposed to the past? What would you like to see more of?
Well, it depends on the artist or like the art, but a lot of more of the new stuff I see is it's lost like the detail. And again, it depends on the artist. You're
right.
We'd have to talk specifics, but there are some artists that I love. I mentioned Pepe Larraza. I like Stuart Immonen. They do kind of like like a different style than what I grew up with. But then there's the other books, and it's almost like cartoony. It's thicker, holding lines, and it's I don't really like the hyper realistic, where it looks like it's photograph type stuff, because that sucks the life out of it for me. But kind of like the newer style, it just lacks the, I love the dynamic. From the 90s books, everything was like dynamic. Had these awesome shots where, awesome foreshortening. I love all the lines, like the West Coast style with a lot of cross hatching. Like it just adds movement, depth, and all that. And I think, the stuff I see today, it's lacking that. And, it reminds me of like, a Sunday morning cartoon, back in the day. It was like, well, it depends on how far you go. Back in the backpack day, it was like super, super detailed. And, the Star Wars comics from the Sunday morning newspapers were like amazing. But maybe, 10, 20 years ago, like, they're just super simple. They're cartoony and, and that's all great. But, when you add thick blacks and you add, lots of dynamic artwork, there's something totally different to it than what you see today. So that's what I miss.
Well, it's funny because just even look at cartoons, like the old She-Ra to the new She-Ra, for example. They're really dumbing down the art in today's cartoons, where the animation and the art that was put into He-Man and She-Ra and Thundercats, it was a higher quality, in my opinion. I agree. I had someone say recently that 90s art is just so outdated. It looks outdated. And I'm thinking to myself, how? Why? I mean, I don't understand. It's so dynamic and powerful and just sharp. And why is it outdated? What makes something outdated? Because some wannabe know-it-all says that it's outdated, you're setting a trend. It's phenomenal. I mean,
Yeah.
Tell that to David Finch, who's still successful. Tell that to Brett Booth. Tell that to Jim Lee, who they'll spend $4,000 on a freaking head sketch. Tell them it's outdated. Get the hell out of here. I find that insane. I find that totally insane. Anthony has a question. Don't know if it was asked, but do you draw anything different to take a break from comic art or try different art styles to help with character creation?
When it comes to character creation, yeah, I'll go get inspiration from like DeviantArt and look at different styles, whether it's like digital painting. There's a lot of digital painters that get like amazing detail, and if they do armor or they're doing angels or knights, like and then they take it like 10 steps further and it's like super fantasized. And so there's awesome stuff you can find on DeviantArt and Pinterest, wherever you can find images. You can look up something cool. But yeah, so I'll go to like social media type stuff or DeviantArt, ArtStation, and just look at guys who do a lot of digital painting stuff, because I can't do digital painting. I've tried it and it's I need to go back to school to learn all that. But yeah,
move to Jersey. You could crash on Chris's couch with your family.
Nice. Yeah, so I hope that answers your question. I'll try and go away from comics and look at something different sometimes.
Do you ever draw from real life?
Not so much as when I did in art college. I will, like, when I go to church, I have my book that I take notes in and stuff, and so I'll like doodle and draw the back of somebody's head sometimes, things like that. But yeah, not a whole lot. I don't go outside and draw from nature or anything. Although that is a really good exercise. But yeah, I don't do too much of that.
That's really nice.
I'll doodle, just whatever's in my head. If I get an idea, I'll just doodle it. And let me see. Let's see if I can find it. Give me an example. Like, I had this idea of a cool Conan kind of pick. Nice. It's like really small, but so I just drew that. This is just a guy in a cage hanging out. So yeah, I'll just doodle, just thoughts, stuff like that.
How many hours a day do you draw?
Gosh, if you ask my wife, she'd probably say too much, but gosh, I start around 11 and then I'll go till 5 o'clock or so, and then after the kids go to bed, I'll draw a few more hours. So probably around 8 hours or so.
It ties into Steve Garcia's question. What is your work schedule like, and how do you balance, no doubt, long hours with family life?
Yeah, it's hard, but my wife is great. She's very understanding, helps me. She'll take the kids out of the house, and kind of give me some quiet time sometimes. And yeah, so, and she works out of the home 3 days a week. She does part-time work, which is great. So I'm able to work when she's working, when she's working, I'm home with the kids, and then, vice versa. So it kind of works out great that way. Yeah.
Yeah, Dante was talking in regards to cartoons before. He was saying that they're shopped to little kids, but the ones from the 70s, 80s are amazing, in my opinion. The thing is, though, Dante, those cartoons were shopped to kids back then, too, but they weren't treating us like stupid little kids. You know what I mean? 8 years old, I was watching these G.I. Joe and these cartoons. They weren't treating me like I was 4. If you think about it, now with the art style and the stupid humor and all the crap that's going on, they're treating kids like they're dumb, in my opinion. I mean, I can't. I look at this crap, I can't stand it. My daughters looked at the new She-Ra and like, this sucks, Daddy. They watch classic She-Ra. They're like, the new She-Ra sucks, Daddy. I'm like, I didn't even show them the new Thundercats. I don't even know if that's still on. Has anybody seen that? Bob Camp must be like ripping his hair out going, what is this crap? But
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
it's horrible. And that's the art style. And like you said, it's just a lazy, quick, easy art style. They don't want to put the money and the effort and the time into true art and animation anymore, I don't think. I mean, when's the last time you got a movie? Speaking of Steve Garcia, when's the last time you saw a movie like with the animation quality of Iron Giant? You know? So it was canceled already, Dante? Oh, well, thank God. It was garbage. So, I mean, I don't know.
I dug the Thundercats they did before that, where it was like kind of a different style, but it was still
Decent. Yeah, and they changed things up.
Yeah. They had, I think it was something, is it Phil Norton? He was from Image. He did some Image stuff, and he was doing I think some of the character designing or maybe he was art directing it. But yeah, so that was kind of cool.
I have to say, and I guess this is me showing my age. My problem is if it wasn't broke, why fix it? Why don't you just revamp it? Update the animation, but keep the quality of art, and just tell the story again, or just continue. Why don't you just continue from where they left the series? Why not? I mean, I actually liked when they added Bengali and Linkso and all those guys, and the Lunatics were cool. I thought those were awesome bad guys. The Lunatics, I thought it got Thundercats actually improved as it went on, and then unfortunately, kids grow up, that generation grows up, and they lose interest. But why can't you introduce that again to a new generation? I mean, parents my kids watch the '80s Thundercats all the time. They watch Silverhawks. They watch Thundar the Barbarian, which, in my opinion, that should be a live-action movie with a good budget, done well. Thundar the Barbarian is like one of the best freaking cartoons ever. That's like a movie, that beginning and everything. Lords of Light. My kids sing the song. They hum the song to Thundar in a car. It's an awesome cartoon. But why not bring them back, But that's just me. I'm old. I'll be 48 in a couple of days, so I'm old and I'm not the market anymore, So who cares?
When I was a kid, Thundercats came on at like a weird time or something. I think before I went to school.
It was like 5. No, it was actually on 5:00 evenings after school. Okay.
Yeah, so I loved it, and then I just I couldn't catch it or something. Like I tried to watch it before I went to school. Sometimes maybe they replayed it in the morning. I don't know, but that was the only time I could catch it. But yeah, that was a fun show.
And Anthony mentions Bionic 6. That was another well produced cartoon. I mean, I don't know. It's too difficult to draw them, therefore more time to do them. Yeah, Steve, you're right. It's more time to draw them. They want to spend the money in this and that. They want the lesser quality. But then let me ask you, though, how many seasons did Thundercats go for, and how many seasons did this new Thundercats go for? I mean, you invest more money, but you make more money when you put out quality. You want to put out garbage, well, then, how much are you going to make when it doesn't last? I don't know. I'm not a big business exec, so maybe I just don't. There's a lot I don't understand, but it is what it is. I'm a dinosaur. I'm not the demographic for comics anymore either, so that's just the way it goes. But anyway, but we can go back in time to an awesome 90s comic book if we go over to Indiegogo, which, if you look scrolling on the bottom right now, is Eric's Indiegogo for his new book, Shadow Sentry. 54 or 56 pages, you said?
56.
56 pages of an interesting story, 90s action, 90s pencils, beautiful aesthetics. The book, in the pages you saw earlier, they just look so good. I don't know if you want to flash the pages again before we go, for anybody that came late. It's Indiegogo. There's different tiers. There's different pledges. Whatever you can afford, you can just get the book, but get the book. Support Eric, support indie artists, and support the desire for the books that we miss, that are no longer, you don't see them on your racks anymore,
Yeah.
So
I would appreciate it. if you guys checked it out.
Do you want to flash those pages, share your screen real quick, or would you rather just finish, try to finish that drawing?
Sure. Give me 1 second. Yeah, and as I did mention, I do want to do this as an ongoing series. So let's see, share screen.
Thanks, Dante, for putting it up again. Dante put up the link 3 times for you. So
thank you, Dante.
I'm getting private messages.
Did that work?
Yes, here we go. Okay. So this is Shadow Sentry. You have variant covers from different artists, right?
Yes. And let me go over right here. This is my cover.
Very nice.
These are the 4 different covers. So this is mine. Next to that is Matthew Weldon, Kevin Sharp, and then down here is Mike S. Miller's cover. So 4 variants. I do have a sketch cover variant. If you do want an original sketch, I could do that. Headshot or full body. You'll find that over here in the perk section. Here's a bigger shot of my thing, and then we get down to some of the pages. So these I lettered, quickly, did my best lettering job I could. But Eric Weathers is going to do the final lettering on the book.
Okay.
So
you're really cool. Wow, everything but coloring. Look at that. And you can color, though, you said.
Yeah, I have colored, a bunch of the prints that I've done and stuff. But typically, to save time, I'll hand it off to somebody else who's more proficient and save me some time.
So just look at the action panels. The panels there's a lot going on a page to really just bring you into the story, and you get, not only getting 56 pages, but you're getting a lot in each page. You're getting a lot of story. A lot of books these days, there's not even dialogue, and it's like 3 panels. Bright, colorful. I'm partially colorblind. I'm badly colorblind, and I can see colors popping in here. So,
wow, I didn't know that.
Very nice.
Yeah. So there will be a lot of story in there, and it'll get you primed and ready for the second book. The first arc would be like 2 books or 3, depending on how I break down the second book. But yeah, and after that, I kind of get into different like different groups. Like there's the backstory of Commander Noble. This is Robert Noble right here. And then later on, he becomes the leader of the Shadow Sentry, and he's known by Commander Noble. So you kind of get into his backstory, and he has a military background. And there's this group that ends up hunting them. They're called the XI Hunters. And so that could totally be a spin-off series that I do from this. And then, you meet other superheroes down the road, and that could totally be a spin-off series. So, I'm kind of thinking long-term, it has the ability to kind of be like a early Image series where you have, Gen 13, and it's all kind of, involved in the different stories and stuff. So, if you guys dig it, that'd be awesome. Please check it out. And yeah, I've got big plans. Any
can you show us some of the tiers just to kind of give them an idea of the perks that they can get, any of the stretch goals that you have going on or anything?
Sure. Yep. All right. So you could do the digital, $10 for a digital download. There's the regular cover. If you don't want it signed, save $5. You could just do the regular cover. This is unsigned.
So for $20, you're getting a 56-page book, because most of the time they're like $25 for 48 pages. So you're only doing $20 on that tier for a 56-page book?
Correct. Yep.
Wow. Sweet.
Yep. And if you want to, go a little bit bigger, for $25, you could do the signed version. And so I will sign it, and then you'll also get your name in the thank you section in the back of the book.
Cool.
Here's a variant cover. You can select the variant cover you want. It's cover A, B, or C. C is Mike Miller's. It's not colored here, but as I showed you earlier, it is colored. It's just, there's that. You can get 2 books for $40. These will be signed, so you're saving $10. You can get 2 variants. The Hellborn Special for $75. You're gonna get the regular variant that I did, the regular cover that I did. You get a variant cover of your choice, and then you get a metal print, a comic size metal print of your choice for $75. Sketch cover headshot, $100. There's a $200 full body sketch cover as well if you want. This one is the metalhead is all four metal prints of the covers. These are prints. These are not the books themselves. So just to point that out. But you get all four of those. And then all four covers plus the print. Now these are actually the books. So you get each cover of the book plus your choice of an 11x17 print of any one of the covers, including the promo art that I did here, which I showed when I first was on there. This is the very first image I did of the team. This is the promo art.
Nice.
Still, you can get a print of that as well. Well, actually, since you brought up stretch goals, this is a stretch goal where you can get. Everybody's going to get like a print of this image here.
Cool.
Yeah. So
very nice.
Stretch goals.
And that I mean, I'm not saying the book is like that, but the picture kind of gives me a Wetworks vibe. It reminds me of Wetworks from Will Spatasio.
Yeah.
Remember that? Because they had the military guys, but then they got the gold symbiote. Cool.
Yep. So here's some of the stretch goals we've unlocked. You're going to get a metal bookmark. You're going to get a trading card, the poster. The bookmark is metal. We did a little boost for that. And then another trading card. So you're getting 2 trading cards, poster. Oh, and the stickers. You get these cool stickers, the Hellborn and Highborn. And that was the 5K. That's it there. So there you go.
Nice.
Some of the characters. This is Vengeant and Bloodbane. So, yeah.
Art is beautiful, man. It looks like a great book.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you have my pledge, so that's that's a guaranteed.
Awesome.
Seriously, guys, and if you can't pledge, or even if you're not interested, just share it out. Let everybody know about it. Let somebody who would be interested in it know about it. That's the next best thing you can do. If you can't pledge, share. Or if you could do both, that'd be fantastic. Just get it out there. He's got kids to feed. So anybody got any questions for the contest before we go? And you want to show that oh, nice. Very nice.
Yeah, I love that thing. In my old office, it was like behind my shelves, and like so I could never look at it. But when I moved my office, I have it now big up on my wall. So I'm like, yeah.
Nice. So I mean, look at that. You got Bane, the Joker, Harley Quinn, Batman, and that's free, to whoever has the best questions. So that's very kind of you and generous to have spent this time to draw it and give it away. And the shipping is on me, so it costs the winner nothing. What is that, a 9x12 or an 8.5x11? Or
this is 8.5x11.
Okay, cool. Also, I'm just going to show the last time for people who came in late. This is a commission that he did for me a while back, Winter Soldier versus the Red Hood. So you can see the detail in his art. I mean, look at the lacing on the boots, the wrinkles in the pants. Just look at the Red Hood. I mean, I think that was the best version of the Red Hood, by the way. Not really keen on the new one with the hood. He looks kind of like from that video game. I forgot what that guy's name, the Assassin's Creed or whatever. But look at him shooting. The bullets are flying. The bullet casings are flying. There's so much energy in this. He's even ricocheted a bullet off the metal arm of Winter Soldier. The detail on the gun. It's just an awesome piece, and I'm so glad to have it. I get a lot of compliments on it. And, I mean, if you're patient and you want to be put on his commission list, you can get a commission from him, high quality like that as well. But in the meantime, while he's working on Shadow Sentry, help fund the next one. This could be the next big thing. You could say you were there on the ground floor. That's what I would say. Dante asked if Brett Booth was a big influence on you.
Not as much as Jim Lee, only because I kind of, Brett Booth kind of came into the scene a little bit after I was already falling in love with Jim Lee. So, and Brett Booth has like that Jim Lee style kind of, but maybe hyper detailed. which is awesome. So I do love his work, but Brett Booth's I find is maybe too detailed sometimes, whereas Jim Lee has like a better balance to me. But
Right.
but yeah, I mean, I remember when Brett Booth did Kindred back in the day, and yeah, I love that book. So yeah, and I a lot of these artists, they kind of get better, you know, like Brett Booth stuff I like now more than I did before, you know. So
Yeah, his Flash work is incredible. So I mean, I love his work.
yeah.
So, all right, guys, your last chance at questions to win that piece of art. Going once, going twice, sold to somebody. All right, Eric. Thanks so much for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it. I had a good time, and that looks fantastic.
Cool.
So you know, maybe I get best question. And I wish you continued success with Shadow Sentry in February. I mean, I'm booked to February right now, but in February or March, you want to come back on and plug the next chapter, please feel free to just reach out to me and let me know.
Okay, that'd be awesome.
I'd love to see that, and of course, by then, when I do get Shadow Sentry, when you fulfill it and I get it, if you don't mind, I would probably do a video review of it.
For sure. Yeah, please do.
Will there be retail copies after the campaign has been fulfilled, or is it Indiegogo and that's it?
Well, like I'll probably have books in like my local comic shops, but you mean like kind of getting it out, you know, distributed?
Well, even if like they see you at a con, or can they order it through you online, or?
Oh, I see. So I'll definitely have it available in the next campaign. I don't know if I'll put it online just yet. But it'll be, you know, they can get it in the next campaign. So if they missed out on the first campaign, they can get it again.
So then you got to pledge to get it, guys. There is no, after that, or you pledge on the next, like you said, and get both volumes. But, so keep that in mind, okay? If you want it, you got to pledge. It's $20, 56 pages. And then if and then of course you got stretch goals on top of that. If you want more, it's not that much more money, and you got metal prints, and you've got variant covers, and you name it. So awesome.
Yeah. And also, if I can get to the next stretch goal, I think it might be 30,000, but they'll be perfect bound instead of saddle stitched. So that'll be pretty cool. So kind of like
people.
Yeah. So typical comics are saddle stitch, where they have the two staples on the binding. Perfect bound is the flat binding, where it's let me see if I don't think I have anything, but you know, it's like a typical trade paperback where it's flat on the end. So it's just kind of like a nicer bound book. So
nice.
Yeah.
So let's help them get to that stretch goal, so we all get an even higher quality.
Yeah. Awesome.
All
thank
right,
you guys thank you for having me.
Nice. Look at that. Eric, man, it's always a pleasure. I appreciate it. I'm glad you came out. I hope you had a good time. If you didn't, just lie to me. God bless you and your family, and much success.
Thank you, man. And Dante, yes, it is like the graphic novel binding. Yep. You got it. Awesome. Yeah, thanks again, man. Thank you, guys.
Well, you have a great night.
You as well. Take care.
Take care. All right. So there was episode 23. Can you believe we've already hit 23 episodes of Q&A? That went fast. Eric is a really good guy with a beautiful family. The book, I'm sincere. The book really looks interesting to me. It looks quality. And I'm pledging. I haven't pledged yet because my ass is out of work for 7 months, but I am pledging before it's over. And I really highly recommend you guys do as well. We want to continue to see this stuff going on, and the only way we do that is if we support them. So please do that. Having said that, again, thank you to Eric for coming out. Thanks for all you guys for always coming out. Heather and Steve and Anthony and Dante and Bill and just everybody that comes out and supports, especially on a regular basis. And I don't know if John, is it Ottinger, is still there, but thank you for coming out and many others. I really appreciate the support. Thank you to Eric for being willing to give away free original art. That's awesome. And yes, Chris too. He thought it was Creatorcon TNA. Freaking Chris. That's why you're my second highest viewership, Chris, because you're a nut. I turned 48 on Monday, and then my gift is I have Tony Cordos, who has inked Justice League and some other books, Batman and Robin. He did when they had the Frank Quietly run. I believe he inked a book or two or something, or maybe not over Frank Quietly, but I think it was an annual that he did. Hey, John, thanks for sticking around. So Tony Cordos, really good inker and friend, will be here Tuesday at 10 p.m. And there we go. And I'm sorry to keep plugging. I'm going to remind you, if you're local, December 6th, my Suffolk Comic and Art Expo show has been revived. It's going to be a small quarterly show to try to help local artists get rid of some of their inventory, continue to try to make some money, help them out so that they're struggling right now, and give us all some hope that we can still live our lives and continue and everything. And we will be COVID safe. I'm a nurse. Infection control is my thing. We will make sure that everything is done properly. And so please come out December 6th and spread the word, and hope to see you guys there. All right. So having said that, thank you again for being out for a wonderful episode with Eric. I had a lot of fun. Really impressed with his Indiegogo and his book. And I thank you all for your support. A lot of great people come out to support in the group. Tomorrow I will do the video. Unless him and I figure something out now, I might do a video late within the hour of ending the show, announcing the winner of the best question, who will get that Batman sketch that he is still working on. So he's putting a lot of effort into this sketch. All right, so stay tuned for that winning video. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Be legendary and have fun storming the castle.